as we know, historically, the federal government has served the purpose of enforcing laws where states decide that they will not. They will not. And whether we're talking about sanctuary cities or now dealing with these mobs, Democrats are once again the party of lawlessness. Or you can believe sitting United States member of Congress, Maxine Waters, who has quite a theory as to what's going on with these federal government law enforcement officers. Play clip 8.
And when he tells you he cannot commit to stepping down, believe him. Believe him, because I tell you something is going on in this country. When I take a look at what is going on in Oregon and who are these federal agents, unidentified in unmarked cars that are raining down on the protesters. Who are these people? Are they organized by and with the President of the United States? Are there more of them? Or are they in practice for what they're going to do when they resist the fact that this president perhaps is not going to be reelected? I think Americans should be worried. But I've thought all along that Americans should be concerned. This is the most flawed character that I've ever encountered in my life. He's dangerous, and I believe him when he says that he cannot tell us whether or not he's going to accept, if he is not elected.
Nothing that Congresswoman Waters says is considered too crazy for the Democrats. I don't know how else to put it. These are federal law enforcement officers, duly sworn and under the orders of the federal government, who are stopping criminal activity, including very clear federal jurisdiction issues like preventing a mob from burning down a federal courthouse. The federal government gets to do that. The federal government does get to step in. For those who may not know this, when the feds want to, they can get involved in a whole lot of things. Democrats abuse this all the time. Republicans, because we like to try to fight fair on all this stuff, go, well, that's not really the intent of, that's an abuse or whatever. The Controlled Substances Act, for example, you don't think of having a little bit of an illegal drug as a federal issue. Yeah, it is actually. Now, I'm not agreeing necessarily that that's the way it should be. I'm just telling you it is. Somebody goes out and sells a bunch of prescription painkillers on the street. Your local law enforcement may arrest you for that and prosecute you, but you are absolutely in violation of federal law and could be federally prosecuted. In fact, friends of mine from the NYPD would talk about how sometimes to help handle the caseload on drug cases, on larger drug cases, the local prosecutor would allow federal prosecutors to come in and just take a number of the cases off their hands. They called it Federal Day. You really didn't want Federal Day if you were the person who was the suspect. If you had been arrested for this. So now we look at what's going on with these different cities and the lawlessness. There are a ton of ways to justify the deployment of federal law enforcement resources, just like when they were trying to destroy in Lafayette Square, destroy a federal statue. That's the federal government has the ability to enforce the law and protect its property. Right? If someone tries to go at the White House and starts throwing a Molotov cocktail at it, they don't have to wait for D.C. Metro Police to show up. The federal government, in this case, the Secret Service, will stop that. So Democrats can whine and complain about this all day. If they really think there's a secret kidnapping squad that's taking people off the streets and not, okay, tell your law enforcement officers to try to effect an arrest and see how that goes for them. Now, I don't want federal law enforcement officers. I don't want law enforcement officers to get caught in the middle of this insanity. I think the cops would say, "No, I'm not going to try to arrest the DHS officer right now." I think that's going to be counterproductive. And on what charge? You want to get into it with the federal government over this? I know what it's like. I worked at the CIA. I've worked at the NYPD. You really don't want to be on the side of the equation where your local resources are going up against the federal resources. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.